Hello. Good evening, everyone. I can't see you all, so I hope everyone can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you all can hear me clearly. I don't have any thumbs up yet, but I'm guessing you all can hear me. So we're going to start our session, which is Campus to Corporate Toolkit. If y'all can't follow what I'm saying, please drop a message so I will be aware that y'all can't, follow what I'm saying. So I'm going to start off right now. We're going to do Campus to Corporate Toolkit. So some of you might wonder, before I start, let me introduce myself. I'm Susan Alexander, the learning specialist at Biocon Academy. I am a communication teacher, professional skills teacher. So, what exactly do I do at Biocon Academy? Over here, I help fresh graduates get prepared to enter the workforce, which is what our session is about today, Campus to Corporate Toolkit. So we are taught how to do things in the technical point of view. For example, if you're from the biosciences field, you learn whatever is required for you to know technically. But what we're going to be doing in today's session is that we're going to see what are the professional skills that you might require to work in an organization with other people in multicultural background, people from multicultural backgrounds. So we're just going to take a quick overview, a look at the overview of what you might need to do your best to work to your highest potential when you enter the workforce. I hope that's clear. So we're going to move on. Like I said, we are doing Campus to Corporate Toolkit. I know many of us over here on this call are fresh graduates, or maybe, 1 year of experience, 2 years of experience. So you will understand what exactly we're going to talk about in this presentation or in this session. So, like I mentioned, why this toolkit? No matter what your degree is, you'll face situations at work that your textbooks don't prepare you for. Professional skills sort of bridge that gap. Deadlines become more real. You're accountable for the tasks given to you. What do we mean by accountable? Accountable in the sense you take full responsibility for that task given to you. So these are some of the things that will change when you move from campus to corporate. So that is what we're going to be discussing in the next half an hour. I hope we're good so far. And you might wonder, are professional skills different? Um, Sorry, Sheba, I'm so sorry. Sheba has sent a message that she's not able to see the presentation. Is everyone else able to see the presentation? Yes, so I'm getting a thumbs up, so I'm going to continue. Okay, so thank you so much for your responses. So what we're going to see over here, the professional skills that we learn, can we use it across different fields is the question. Yes, we can because technical skills are pertain to a certain field that we belong to. But your professional skills apply to any field that you work in because it involves communication, body language, teamwork, conflict resolution, and things like that, which will be applicable to all the fields that you work in. So that is why everybody requires this toolkit, Campus to Corporate Toolkit. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next slide. Why must we focus? Like I have been mentioning, why must we focus on professional skills? First point, to help you get hired. You might wonder, but I did a 3 year or a 4 year degree. Isn't that enough? I have the technical knowledge to do my job. What more do I need? That's enough to get me hired. But in today's day and age, people expect more than that because there are people who come from different cultural backgrounds who will work in your organization along with you. How well do you work with them? How well can you, or how efficiently can you do the task given to you? How well are you able to focus on the larger goal or the organization's goal? These are the things that the organization looks for employees. So that's why if you are well versed with all these skills, you can get hired easier than someone who may not have these skills. To build your reputation is the second point. What do we mean by build your reputation? But I'm a gold medalist in college. That's enough for my reputation. That's correct. But then once you enter the workforce, right, your reputation will depend on how well you are completing your tasks, how well you get along with the people around you, how well you are able to make your team function from your perspective. That is what the second point means to build your reputation. The third one, to improve your performance. So this point talks about how well you manage your task and time. So you need to be very good at managing your time because you will have simultaneously you'll have multiple things to work on, multiple deadlines to work on. So to improve your performance, you can be someone who can manage your time well. And that also is a professional skill, how well you manage your time. So now that in turn will improve your performance. Then to help you grow into leadership. I think this one we can sort of understand if we do everything else right, the next step is going to be a higher position, a leadership position. How well are you in control of your emotions and how open minded and adaptable you are to work with people from different backgrounds and understand people from different backgrounds. So that is what we talk about over here. Sorry, talk about over here. Last point, to make teamwork easier. Like I mentioned, how open minded you are, how adaptable you are, how good you are at controlling your emotions, not even controlling, understanding your emotions and organizing your emotions. All this comes here to make teamwork easier. So that is why we need professional skills. I hope we're clear so far. I'm going to continue to the next slide. Yes. So I forgot to mention that this is going to be sort of an interactive session. Y'all can use the chat box chat to send me your responses. So this is the first question for today's session. What's your biggest concern about starting your first job? Now, if you have started your first job, what was your concern when you started your first job? Please just send me a couple of answers so we can see what is going through everyone's mind. So I'm going to wait for some responses on the chat box. For this question, what's your biggest concern about starting your first job? Some of the concerns that I get is will I be able to manage the tasks given to me, because there's going to be a lot of responsibilities right now. How am I going to handle all these responsibilities? People are going to depend on me to complete these tasks and complete it successfully. It's too much pressure on me. How am I going to do it? These are some of the questions that cross our mind. So we have having the right opportunity to to start first job in good and productive industry. Yes, so that is about where you get your job and if the industry is productive and so on. That is, I think it applies to all fields, not just the biosciences field. Adapting to a job role. Very good. Adapting. That is a very, very important thing that we should remember how well we adapt. Because you might be a gold medalist, but if you're not good at adapting, you're not going to get a chance to show your potential. So, adapting to a job role is very, very important. How to know what type of responsibility is given to me? Yes, that's what I said. So you'll be so overwhelmed about the fact that what am I going to take care of? What are people going to depend on me for? Because now this is serious. It's not like college, right? Here you are working in an organization with stakeholders. There's a lot of money involved. There are stakeholders involved, and you will be in that organization with a couple of tasks given to you. How well can you execute those tasks? Those are some of the questions that might go through our mind. Adapting to job role, good environment. Yes, we might wonder, will it be a good environment? Will it be a nice company culture to work in? And things like that. So I see a lot of questions. I hope I've answered some of your questions. We'll move on to since we only have about 20 minutes left, we will have a Q&A session by 6 o'clock or 6:15. So that time you can ask me all the questions if I have not answered your question right now. Let's move on to the next slide. Why the shift from campus to corporate often feels harder than expected. And very important answer given there, because no one teaches you how to work. Most often we are told what to do, but not how to do it. And that's where the gap is. Because we don't know, we are aware that, okay, now I'm supposed to do this, but how am I going to do it? And that question, just how, has a huge significance. And so when you start working, you will start understanding the importance of this how. So we'll just take a quick look of how we can probably navigate through all these challenges that we might face when we enter the work field. Yes. So the professional skills gap. So this is basically the how. That is the gap. We are not told how to do it. So we're trying to bridge that gap. Let's look at how we can bridge that gap. So there is a line below that. Your degree gets you in the room. Your professional behavior keeps you there. So because you get into the room doesn't mean you have succeeded entirely. You have given yourself the opportunity. Now, how well are you going to, use that opportunity and sustain yourself there? That is what professional skills focuses on. Okay, so there are 4 points given over here. The first one is communication. Communication most often is understood as I speak good English, so I can communicate well. But is that what communication is? Communication is based on a communication model. That's what most people focus on. Three important things that we focus on. The first one is body language. For example, when your mother gets angry, you can see her hands go on on the hips, and then she'll just look at you and just, that time you've done something wrong or she is angry, something is wrong. That body language speaks more than the words that come out of her mouth, right? So that is very important. Our body language is very important. If I sit with my hands crossed, that means I'm not very open-minded. You can talk to me, but I'm not going to see where you're coming from. I'm not going to listen to you. That's the message it sends. We might just think, oh, I feel comfortable standing, crossing my hands, but it sends a message more than that. That is what we need to be aware of. Vocal. When we talk to a child, the way you talk, hi, how are you? Do you talk like that to an adult? Your tone changes, right? When you are calling customer care to make a complaint, you say, yes, hello, I want to complain about something. Your tone changes, right? So that is also a part of communication. So communication, basic good communication covers all these things, your body language, the tone in which you speak, and then the least important thing, which is the words that come out of your mouth. It's given the least importance in the communication model. So that's what communication covers. Next is taking initiative and accountability. Taking initiative is basically, when we were in school, the class monitor will always be the one carrying the books behind the teacher to go to the staff room. That over here, many people would put up their hands saying that, no, I want to carry the books. I want to carry the books. That sort of is taking initiative because everyone wants to do the task. How well do you do it in your organization? If someone says, see, this is what we need to do, this is the task that needs to be done. Are you someone who volunteers to do that yourself or help out? That is something people notice when you start working. Accountability, again, I said, are you someone can depend on? Are you dependable? Are you reliable? Are you responsible? Those are the things that come under accountability. Time and task management. Like I mentioned before, you'll have multiple things simultaneously going on. How well are you managing your time to complete all these tasks efficiently? That's what comes under this. And the last one, adapting to workplace feedback and collaboration. You probably would have heard the word collaboration a lot. Collaboration means basically working, how well you work with another person or another entity, right? You need to collaborate, share ideas, be open minded, be adaptable in order to collaborate well. So that's what this covers. So, just an overview of what are some of the things that professional skills covers. So, we'll quickly move on to the next one. Let's now focus on how we can bridge the gap. So, we discussed all these things. Let's take a closer look at these four topics. Communication essentials. Write clear and concise emails. What do we mean by concise? Short. Nobody's got the patience or the time to sit and read paragraph after paragraph, right? So we need to be good at communication so we can write clear and concise emails that sort of covers the whole idea that you are trying to convey. So it's not about big words or, you know, how well you use the language. It's about how you're being timely, respectful, for example, or even polite. For example, imagine you're working on a team project and your update email says work in progress. What kind of a message is it sending? As opposed to saying completed 60% of the analysis, draft will be ready by Thursday, end of day. Compare the two, work in progress and the second option. Obviously, the second is clear and concise. Now, the person reading it knows, okay, 60% is done. By Thursday, end of day, I will get the project. Okay, so now I'm clear about when to expect the end result. So that is what we need to make sure we communicate clearly. That's what we talk about over here. Speak with purpose in meetings. Very important. This is again your image that you are projecting at a meeting, right? You want them to know that you are actively listening, which is the next point, which we will discuss, and you have points to add. Your suggestion means something, right? So that is what we focus on over here. Listen actively, not just politely. Now, quickly, let's discuss what is listen and what is hear. Now, if there's music playing next door in the neighboring room, I can hear it. But if I'm listening to a song, what do I mean by listen? I'm listening to the music, I'm listening to the lyrics, I'm listening to the rhythm. So, hearing is a physical process. Listening is a mental process. So, are we actually listening when someone talks or in a meeting, or are we just hearing it? We are supposed to be listening to what is happening because we want to be involved in what is being said. That is what this point covers. The last one, adjust tone for different audiences. Like I mentioned, when you talk to a child, your tone is different. When you talk to an adult, your tone is different. And even the context and the situation that you're in will influence the tone that you use. That is what is mentioned over here. Okay, let's move on. A quick activity. Again, I want you all to send me the answers in the chat box. Here is the question. Instead of saying, I don't know at work, if they say, hey, where is this folder or where is this person? You don't know, or how do we work around this situation, or what is it we're supposed to do for this particular task? For those kind of questions, instead of I don't know, what else can we say? Please send in your answers in the chat box. I'm not sure about it. Give me some time. I will search for it. Give me some time. I will search for it. Very good. I'm not sure about. Yes, you're being honest instead of just guessing to, sort of sound like you know everything. So, yes, sorry, I'm unaware of it. I'm not sure at the moment, but I'll find out and get back to you. Great answers. You guys have already understood what is required to be done. Let's just look at what I have over here. I'm not sure exactly what you all have said. I'm not sure at the moment, but I'll find out and get back to you. That's a good question. I'll check and confirm. Let me look into that before I respond. The last one is very important because it shows that you are someone who wants to confirm. You are only going to say things that you are sure about. You're not just going to say things to give a response. You are going to say things that people are going to hold you accountable for. So that shows a very, very good personality trait. Okay. Thank you very much for your answers. There are more questions. When someone gives you feedback, what's a good way to respond? Okay, so now I'm going to come and say, okay, I'm going to use my own name. Okay, Susan, I need to tell you, I saw that you crossed your deadline, and I think you should keep up with the deadline so we can all work smoothly. Now, for this, what kind of a response will you give when your manager or your teammate even comes and gives you a feedback? And one more thing is feedback is different from criticism. Feedback is mostly coming from a good place. Criticism doesn't work very well because that is someone trying to put you down. Understand the difference between the two. So, for feedback, when someone comes and gives you some constructive feedback, what is your response going to be? Okay, please, y'all can send your answers in the chat box. I'm glad that you pointed that out. I'll work on it. All of you already know what is to be done, right? That is exactly. Thanks. I haven't thought of it that way. That's helpful. Can you give me an example of how I could improve and things like that? Yeah, thanks for your feedback, and I will definitely work on it to improve it. What does this show? That you're open-minded. You haven't taken it personally. So you don't think, oh, this person thinks that I'm not good enough for this job. That is taking it personally, as opposed to saying, thank you for the feedback. I'll work on it. I'll see how to improve. So they know that you are someone who's open minded, ready to improve and grow along with the team and the company. Right? Thanks for sharing your thoughts. Very good. Those are all great responses. Let's look at one more question. When asked a question you didn't prepare for in a presentation, what's a better response than panicking or guessing? So this is also a very commonly seen situation. If you don't know how to answer a question in a presentation or in a meeting, what are you going to say? You can't say, I don't know. So what are you going to say in this context? You can send in your answers in the chat box. I'm not sure about that. I will work and give you a result. I'm sorry, I'm unaware of it, and I'll look into it and let you know. I'll look into it. Again, it shows that you are okay to accept the fact that you may not know everything and you're ready to learn more. It shows that you are someone who wants to learn more, right? So these responses that you all have given are exactly what we're talking about, right? Y'all can take a look at it. That's outside the scope of what I've prepared, but I'd love to follow up. Okay, so now this is just rephrased differently, but whatever you all have sent in the chat box is exactly what we should be saying. Okay, instead of just saying, I don't know, or just freezing and standing there because you don't know what to say, right? These are some of the things that you can say if in case you are found in a situation where you're not able to come up with an answer. I hope we're good so far. I'm going to go on to the next slide. Last question. When you're running late on a deadline, what's a better way to communicate it? Okay. Now, for some reason, you haven't been able to keep up with the deadline. Okay. Instead of not talking about it and waiting for the day to come to talk about it, if you are going to bring it up earlier to let your teammate or your manager know that, listen, it's not going to happen according to the deadline that was decided, what can we say? So I will wait for your responses in the chat box. I need some time to reach the target. Yes, you're being honest, you're being very open. Sorry, I'm unable to complete the work. Please give me some more time. Informing prior to your mentor and asking them to extend the time. I'm facing a delay on the task, but I am actively addressing it. Would it be possible to extend the deadline? Exactly. That's exactly what you know the suggestions that I have given are sort of similar to what you'll have said, just phrased differently. So instead of putting it off and waiting for the last minute for the deadline to arrive for you to take action, you can be open about the progress of whatever you're working on. So everyone feels like they know what is happening. Okay. And then last minute they don't come and say, no, but the deadline was Monday. Why is it not ready by Monday? And then your personality, your reputation takes a hit in that case, which is why we're trying to avoid all that. If you notice, everything is sort of interrelated. Active listening skills are important if you want to be open minded or empathetic, and so on. So you have to make sure all these aspects work together and you let it influence your personality in a positive way. Yes, self management and critical thinking. What is self management? How well you manage your emotions, how well you manage your tasks and time, and how adaptable you are. Those are self management. What is critical thinking? Only when you critically think can you make decisions, can you solve problems, right? So that is what they want. They want a person who can solve, a problem solver, basically, someone who's solution oriented, right? So this is what this covers. Prioritize tasks effectively. That shows that you can manage your time well, right? Use calendars and planners. Why? Again, for effective task and time management. Break problems down before asking for help. When you see something, you get overwhelmed and immediately you go and say, I don't know how to do it. Doesn't reflect very well on your personality, at work especially. Try to see if what don't you understand over here? What do you need to ask questions about, or what do you need to work on? Those are the things we need to focus on when we can't figure something out at work in general. And think of solutions, not just challenges. Think of how you can solve it first. See if that can work. You can bring it up later on, whoever you ask to help you out. These are the solutions I came up with. Will it be useful in this situation? It might be, you never know. So you have to try to come up with solutions first. Like I had mentioned, solution oriented is the word. Yeah. So let's move on to the next one. I hope we're good so far. Conflict resolution and empathy. What is conflict? Conflict is just a very nice word for fight, right? We fight everywhere. We fight with friends, we fight with our partners, we fight with our kids, we fight with our siblings, we will end up fighting with our teammates in a given situation, right? Because you can't help it, right? Because there are different opinions being shared, and sometimes there will be a conflict of interest. That's where we have to focus on resolving the conflict. What do we mean by resolving? Solving the problem, right? In the most constructive way. Mostly people think fights are destructive, it ruins relationships, but not always. In a given situation, if your relationship becomes better, if the larger goal is being achieved, then your conflict is constructive. First point, don't take everything personally. I had mentioned it earlier. If you take it personally, then emotions get involved. Then your final judgment will be clouded by your emotions and your perspective. What we want to do is objectively look at the problem and focus on the solution and solving it more than how it's affecting us personally. So we should separate the person and the problem, because most often when you work in an organization, the problem is going to be the organization's problem, right? You are here to solve that. So don't take things personally. Learn to pause before reacting. Reacting versus responding. Reacting is not a very great thing because most often it is, like I said, clouded by emotions. Responding is not like that. If you pause before reacting, you will end up responding, and that is what we should aim at doing. Yeah. Understand other people's perspectives. If you listen actively and you're open minded, obviously you are going to understand other people's perspectives. Seek resolution, not blame. Very, very important. We can't play the blame game, right? Even if it is someone else's fault, the way we put it is going to reflect on our personality more than that person's personality. There is a saying, what Sally says about Susie says more about Sally than Susie. I will use some Indian names, it's easier to understand because this is culturally different, so it might be harder for us to relate. What Rohit says about Rahul says more about Rohit than Rahul, right? So if I go and say, this colleague, she's not working very well, what happens is that person is going to judge me first more than the person we are talking about, right? So over here, when you blame another person, that's what is going to happen. Immediately the person you're talking to is going to be like, but why are you blaming another person? Why can't we just focus on the solution? We don't need to blame anyone in this situation, right? The blame game is looked down upon, especially in the workforce. Try not to blame others. Try to focus on the solutions and not blaming why the task wasn't done. Yeah, so I hope we are clear so far. Okay, so we have a question over here. You had a colleague, Rahul. You and a colleague, Rahul, were assigned to collaborate on a client proposal. During a meeting, he publicly dismisses one of your ideas without explanation. You feel embarrassed and frustrated, and it's affecting your focus on the job. What should you do? So, what is the answer over here? I'll give you four options. Tell me which is the best option. Just send the letter in the chat box. Okay, so we get confront him privately and tell him how you feel. Option C. Okay, everyone's saying option C. No, but I'm very angry. Rahul should not have done that. So I'm going to send him an email saying that, listen, Rahul, what you did was not right. I mean, that seems right to me. That's what will seem right because that is influenced by our emotions because we took it personally. The answers that y'all have sent is exactly what we should be doing. Take it in private and let the person know that, or first find out why did you do that. And then once the person explains it, you will understand what the intention was. Sometimes the intention is more important than the action. Okay, so we'll focus on the intention with which other people work. Okay, we have one more. Okay, so that is the right answer. Like I said, all of you already know what's the right thing to do. The last one, adaptability in the workplace. How well you can adapt to a changing work environment. Because if you are stuck up in one way of working, it's going to be hard because everything keeps changing right nowadays. So we should show them that we are also adaptable to these changes. We are open minded. We are going to do the necessary things required to adapt to the changes that have happened. That is something which is very, very important as communication and other things. Adaptability. How well are you able to adapt to the changing situations? And how you can show it is by being proactive, by being a good listener, by being there, solution oriented. So these are some of the things that will show another person that, okay, you know what, Susan is quite adaptable. We can take her for this project because she knows how to handle things. I'm using my name because it's easier to explain. So yeah, that's what adaptable in the workplace means. Okay, now we've sort of reached the end of our session. Then there are some questions over here. Let's, like how you all have responded to the previous questions, I would like you all to respond to each of these questions. Whatever we discussed, there are questions related to that. This question is, Ria, usually punctual, is missing deadlines. What do you do? So, option C, check in privately. No, but you know what? I don't care about Ria. I just want to make sure that things are happening according to the deadline. I don't know her personally. Why should I check in privately? What am I getting out of this? Are questions that might run in our mind. But the right thing to do, okay, so Manoj says ignore it. Kavya says call her out. Yes. Yes. So, Mohammed Shaibi, I'm so sorry if I don't pronounce your name right. I'm not able to see very clearly over here because she used to be punctual. That's a very good point. She used to be punctual, which means her pattern of behavior is she is someone who's punctual, but this time she wasn't punctual. Then automatically you're like, what's wrong with Ria? Is she fine? Is she going through something? And you can check in privately, and that is the right answer. Check in privately, option C. Because over here, if you do this, it shows that you're a great team player, you're empathetic. What is empathy? Empathy and sympathy are two words that are being used a lot now, right? Empathy is when you can feel what the other person is feeling. Sympathy, for example, you can say, oh, you have a headache. Oh, yeah, just take a medicine. That would be sympathy. Often out of pity. Empathy is, oh, you have a headache. You know what? If you have something important, I can help you out with it because you know how working with a headache feels. So you're trying to help the other person, which in turn makes you a good team player, makes you a good emotionally intelligent person, which is very important to have these days. Let's move on to the next question. Feedback. You receive tough public feedback you partly disagree with. What do you do? What's the answer here? Ask for a one-on-one to clarify. Um, I'm getting a lot of A, but someone said B in between. A, okay. But let's focus on that B that came. Yes. So someone says B, which is ignore it again. You know, honestly, ignoring it would really be easier. But how does it reflect on us as an employee or as a team player, right? Are we a good team player, right? So we already went through this. Yes, this one. So ask for a one-on-one to clarify. That is the right answer because over here you are solution oriented, right? So you want to talk to this person who gave you the feedback to find out how can I improve? What exactly do you mean by whatever you're saying, the feedback that you've given? I would like to grow. This is all a part of growth mindset. You only want to improve, and that in turn shows that you are someone who is willing to be open to feedback in order to grow and improve, right? Next question, which is based on adaptability. Your team is using a new tool you don't know. What do you do? There are four options. Which option would we choose? D. But why should we start learning? I mean, it's the company's responsibility to make sure that we are trained, right? Why should we start learning on our own? Is a question that might cross our mind, then come back to it. Am I a problem solver? Am I proactive? Am I taking initiatives? So, if you think of all these situations, the answer is going to be D. Yeah, you're going to start learning about it from your side. And the training will happen side by side according to your organization. But you have done what you need to do. You have taken the initiative to learn about this new tool so you can also be helpful in some way. As an employee, this makes you someone people would want to hire, right? You're not waiting for them to come and tell you what to do. You've already been proactive and you've taken the initiative to learn it yourself to sort of bridge the gap, right? So that's what the answer over here is going to be D. Okay. Last question. Conflict resolution. You felt undermined by a teammate in a meeting. What did you do? Undermined as in someone has sort of insulted you or disrespected you in a meeting. Okay. Don't know if that's the intention, but this is what has happened. How will you deal with the situation? If you notice, all the answers that y'all have picked has private in it, one-on-one, privately, and so on. That is exactly the answer. Okay, speak privately to clarify and share how it felt. You can call the person and say, listen, Susan, what did you mean by that at the meeting? I would like to know what was your intention. Whatever it was, I felt like it was a bit disrespectful. I don't want to be spoken to like that in a meeting, especially, let alone in general. Okay, you say that it's over. You don't have to go and then gossip. You know what, Susan? No, she just disrespected me. She has no respect. She doesn't know how to act in a team. What will happen is first, you haven't confronted Susan. Second, you go around gossiping about Susan. Both don't reflect well on your personality, which is why we should try avoiding it. Face it. Talk to the person and ask them, clarify what your doubts are and ask them, why did you do it? And then you will understand the intention. So we're done with the session. And I feel like all of you already know what we are talking about, which is great. Do you all have any other questions? Oh, thank you, Rohit, for saying that it was an awesome session. I hope it helped you in some way. But now I will be taking questions, maybe the questions that I could not take at the beginning of the session. Do you all have any other questions that we did not, cover in this session? Thank you very much. I'm glad that you all found it nice and, you know, awesome. But if you all do have any other questions, please put it in the chat box so we can discuss it. We have some more time. If we're not on the same page, how should we convince our team? Very good question. If you're not on the same page, I'm trying to understand what you mean by not on the same page. When it comes to a certain thing, you have to be open-minded over here. Understand why you're not on the same page. I have a certain approach. This person has a different approach. Understand why they are taking that approach and tell them why you want to take this approach. So everyone understands why you are thinking differently and why you think your approach might be working better than the other person. Clear communication is the answer to everything over here. Kavya, you can call the number given on the website to know more about the KGI certificate program. I'm sure our team will be more than glad to help you out. Um, yes, how to handle people who irritates me on a team. That's the most common situation, right? Again, clear communication. More than telling them, don't use you. You are irritating me. You did this, that's why this is it, and so on. The word you is going to work differently in their head. They're going to be like, oh, she's going to come and she's going to criticize me. Okay. Instead, you can say, I feel like I'm not being listened to over here. And this working style is not working for me. If you say that, the person is going to not take it personally and maybe be open to listening to what you have to say, right? Instead of saying that you are the one who's irritating me all the time, you are late all the time, you don't send me, what was required on time. Instead of saying you, focus on yourself and how it makes you feel. Like you said over here, it's irritating you, right? Obviously, we're not going to use the word irritating. Let's be a little bit more clear. Here is where our communication comes in handy, right? I feel like, our progress is getting delayed because I'm not getting the required things on time. So please send it to me on time. Polite, clear, and your job is done. That person also won't take it personally. It won't seem like you've also taken it personally. Is it necessary to have an experience while applying for jobs since I'm a fresher? How should I handle that? Focus on the skills. See, not everyone can have experience, right? Everyone's been a fresher at some point. Focus on the skills that you are trained in. I come with this experience. I've done a project back in college. I've done an internship, and I also worked with this certain skill. These are the skills I possess, which I think your company needs right now. So I think I will be a great fit for your company. That's one way to handle it if you are a fresher. Focus on the skills you possess. Okay, Kavya, I'm not someone who is responsible for the KGI program. You can again call the number given on the website and find out more information. I'm sure we'll be very happy to help. Also, who do less work? What is assigned to that person? Who does less work, what is assigned to that person, that depends on the manager, right? If one thing is, if they do less work, that means either they are not good at their job or they're just getting away with it, which I don't think happens. So it doesn't reflect well on there. If they don't have too many tasks given to them, that means the person giving the task does not have faith in their how well they deliver it. So it doesn't look good if a person has lesser tasks as compared to other people, right? So that's what it says about that person, if I've answered your question. Any more questions? We can discuss for about 5 more minutes. If you do have any questions, you can send it in the chat box. But I hope whatever questions I've answered so far, were helpful. Okay, Rohit says no, ma'am, thanks. Okay, I think then I have answered all the questions. What is the topic of the next webinar? It will be taken by Ishwaran. Sir, we both work together. He will be doing the technical part of it. So we'll be alternating. He'll take care of some of the technical aspects, and I'll be taking care of the non-technical aspects. Thank you very much, Dr. Murugan. I remember you are from the FTP batch, right? We didn't meet during the launch, but I do remember coming across your name. I encountered the online assessment process. The verbal and English questions are very much easy to attempt, but there was a math part of it which was very tough, and in that situation, what will be the solution? I'm not sure if I understand your question entirely. So, what kind of assessment are we talking about? Is it for a job, like a job assessment? If you don't, it is for a job. So that is how they filter it, right? If you are not very good at math and that's what they're looking for, then that's something that you will have to accept. Maybe upskill yourself and try it again, because that is something that the organization decides. So I'm not sure if I can help you with that. Yes. So I think we can wrap the session if y'all don't have any other questions. I'll it's close to 6:20. So if you don't have any more questions, thank you, Mohana Kumar, for saying that it was great. I hope it was helpful. So Kavya asks, as a one join Biocon for any role. I'm sure any particular role as a fresher you can join. Yes, definitely you won't be a manager, or you can join as an executive. I'm sure you can do that with Biocon. Will I receive a certificate for this session? I'm afraid not. We're not giving out certificates for this because it is a part of a longer 12 webinar session. So I don't think you will receive a certificate for this particular session because, like I said, it's a part of a longer series. Kavya, I won't be able to help you with the job situation or the, joining Biocon Academy. Like I said, you can call our team and you can ask your questions. They can answer your questions in a better way. Yeah. Okay, I think we can then wrap up the session for today. Thank you very much for all of you who joined. I hope y'all, took something out of the session and can help you in your um, corporate life a bit. Yes, I will see y'all again because, like I said, it's a series. So I will come back again with a different topic. Next session is going to be by Ishwaran sir, and it's going to be he's a, very knowledgeable, and I'm excited to see how much knowledge he's going to impart with us. After which, I am going to take another non-technical session and so on. Yeah, I'm hoping that all of you are clear with what happened and we can close the session now then. Yeah. Bye, everyone. It was so nice meeting all of you.